thank you for inviting me to be here. At about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, this is what happened to my voice. So unfortunately, you won't get me singing tonight, which, I always try to give a little bit of entertainment with my seminar, so I apologize. I mean, I can still sing, it just won't be beautiful. So welcome to Salary Negotiation. My name is Debbie Lawrence. I'm the founder of Talent Forward HR. It's an HR consulting business, and I want you to know that, hey, I've been on both sides of the aisle with salary negotiation. I've been the manager and the HR person who's been on the company side. I've also been the person who has been negotiating salary. So I do know what I'm talking about. So I guess that's the gist of what I'm saying. But at the end, we'll do some connecting through LinkedIn, so we can connect together. I'll show you guys how to do that if you haven't, and you can connect with me. I do like to reward participation, so I do have some prizes tonight. So I have a couple of gift cards that'll get you a latte at Starbucks. We've got some Davidson t-shirts, and we have an hour of free business coaching with me, which is probably like, the prize is probably not as exciting to you, right? So let's, without further ado, hop in. The participant guide that you have will not look like the slides here. That's because they are designed for you to take notes throughout. So you will also have access to PDF versions of these slides and the participant deck. My information is on all of these decks, so you could call me, you can email me at any time, and I'm happy to help you out, okay? We have several activities where you'll have to group together, so just preparing you for that. But it'll be some lecture. No one wants to hear me talking for 90 minutes, so there'll be a lot of lecture, and then there'll be some activities. All right, so there's 3 parts to this salary negotiation seminar. The first one is really just understanding compensation, because it's not just your base salary. There's a lot of things that you could negotiate. I see someone nodding their head over here, so you might have been through this. And we're also going to talk about the effects of a salary negotiation that really doesn't go into your favor, because it can have lasting effects over, if not the course of your career, then a good majority of it. And we'll also talk about the effects of poor negotiation, or I would say salary discrepancies that women and minorities face in this country. Because even though it's 2020, we still have a long way to go. The second part is research and preparation. I'm sure you've all been through interviewing, preparation, and have had some insight into that. We won't dive too much into that, but we are going to spend some time doing some preparation that involves some research of the company, and we'll show how that can tie to your salary negotiation. And then finally, we'll actually get into the meat and potatoes, and we'll practice the ask. So raise your hand if you have been through the salary negotiation process already. Okay, so you guys are all getting kind of ready for it, right? I had one person say, hey, I wasn't allowed to negotiate, which is unfortunate. It's very rare that happens. But what you're gonna learn tonight will transcend your career. So it's not just about this very first time, but it will be about, hey, when you're going for promotions, when you're going to your next job, please utilize this information. It's evergreen, I guess I should say. So I remember when I started my first job out of school, and I had to go into a salary negotiation, and I had butterflies in my stomach about it, because I really didn't know where to start. And I'm going to be honest with you, it was 22 years ago, and I didn't have salary.com or payscale.com or any resources at all. But I'm sure it's still a little nerve-wracking. So let's talk about, we'll go back to that quote. What is your fear about salary negotiation? Anything, like I said, totally open, shout it out.
The fear that the company might not want to pay me that much that I want.
Fear that the company might not want to pay you what you think you're worth. Remember, I reward. Right?
I fear that after you say what you're looking for, if it's like an early interview, they might not consider you as a candidate based on what you say.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you. Jennifer.
That you overestimate how much you're worth, or that they think you're overestimating how much you're worth?
Yes, they're overestimating. Can you pass that back to Jennifer? Thank you. So the last two comments were that you're overestimating how much you're worth, or that the company might pull an offer. And I'll tell you today, just today, Carlina, I had somebody call me with a recruiting call, because once you're on the market, just to let you know, this will happen. Once you're active on LinkedIn, recruiters will call you. And I said, well, I'm pretty happy doing what I'm doing, but I'll have the conversation. And they said, well, how much, salary would you want? And I gave my number, and they said, well, that's too much. And it happens, and it's okay to say, all right, well then this is not going to be a fit for me. Any other fears? I think you probably all wrapped them up quite nicely in a bow. I wanted to go back to this quote. I have several quotes throughout this presentation, but this one's I think the one that I feel the most because I have experienced it. You don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. And we all have a number in our head that we think that we deserve, right? And if you don't get that close to it, what will happen? It's going to creep in over time. A little bit of guilt, maybe maybe being upset with yourself, right? I didn't catch her name. Oh, Cassie. Cassie, nice to meet you.
You feel undervalued?
Undervalued, yes. And you'll have to remind me your name. I saw your hand go up. Yes, did you?
Zach.
Zach, thank you.
Like self-doubt.
Self-doubt, yes. Self-doubt for not just your current role, but your next role. How about some resentment? I've felt that, very much so. Especially when I've gotten into roles that were presented as one thing, and then it's a little bit different, and we'll talk about that during the preparation. All right, you guys ready to rock and roll and dive into understanding some compensation? Okay. All right, so we're going to talk about something called total rewards. Total rewards you may hear as total compensation package. Those two terms are interchangeable, but total rewards is becoming kind of like the niche phrase these days. So just understand that that's what they mean. Everybody has a base salary. So that's the amount that you negotiate the base for what you do for your role. It'll have a range. We'll say maybe it's $40,000 to $50,000. Hoping that it's more for all of you. Everything you can of your salary negotiation. Base salary is determined by many factors. It's determined by industry. It's determined by role. It's determined by geography. It's determined by how important it is to the company as well. So I'll give you an example. You may be somebody who becomes a CPA. A CPA in public accounting will probably have a little bit of a lower salary than a CPA in a privately held company that has a little bit more funds to work with and really needs your expertise. And then we have bonus. Now, not all companies give a bonus. It is something that you can negotiate. And there was a period of time, especially during the recession years, when you were all really young, that bonuses were almost unheard of. Thankfully, we're in a hot economy, and I think you're all going to feel the effects of having a lot of jobs available to you, and the economy is booming. So bonuses are becoming more and more prevalent again. Bonuses are usually a percentage of your salary, and they're based on usually goals, and it could be a company goal, it could be a personal goal, and it could be a mesh of the two. It's normally paid annually, but sometimes it's paid quarterly. And all of these things can be negotiated at the start. All right, so then we have health and wellness. These are medical insurance, dental insurance, vision insurances. I'm assuming that a majority of you are probably still on your parents' insurance or on some type of insurance through the school. But to drive this home, most companies will pay a portion. And there's other insurances, there's short-term and long-term, and we could talk about that. But I'll use the big three: medical, dental, vision. So companies will do what they call a shared premium. And to give you an idea of what that could be, it's usually sometimes like a 60-40 split. That's pretty average. For an employee-only medical insurance, the average annual premium for that is between $5,000 and $6,000. So if you have a spouse on the plan, now you're looking at about $8,000 or $9,000. And if you have a family, you're looking probably about an average of $14,000 a year. Now the company is going to pay a portion of that, but what is paid by you through pre-tax deductions in your paycheck is considered compensation. So if you ever get a total compensation statement from your employee, it will include that. And when I said it's taken pre-tax, it means you comes out of your check as a deduction, but it comes off of your taxable wages. So whatever you pay towards that is pre-tax, so you're not taxed on it. However, even though this is part of compensation, there's still a cost to you. All right, so we've got training and development. So, your learning doesn't stop when you walk across the stage, the tassel on the other side of your cap. That's pretty much when your learning starts. So, someone want to tell me what you're planning to do after graduation? What kind of role are you looking to get? Anybody?
Immigration paralegal.
Oh, immigration paralegal. That's really cool. I'm working with one right now.
Nonprofit development.
Nonprofit development. Excellent. Anybody else want to share? Do you want to share?
Myself.
Oh, I've got a company for you to look at. Excellent. And the reason I ask that is because I'm sure you're all thinking, hey, I'm graduating, I want to do this, but I don't really know how to think this when you walk in the door, right? So there's a training period. I wouldn't call that part of your compensation package. But once you go through your training and you're rocking and rolling in your role, you want to continue learning, correct? That could be through certifications, that could be through professional development. So the thing that's going to be important to you is talking to your hiring manager about what continuous learning looks like for the company that you're applying with, what they will contribute, so that could be like a tuition or a training reimbursement, and what over and above they can contribute. I would say probably a really good number to kind of think about is a couple grand in terms of continuous learning. And you've got your 401k. Everybody familiar with a 401k? So you put a percentage of your salary away for retirement benefits, and most likely your employer is going to put in a match. That match is considered part of your compensation. And then finally, paid time off, because not all of us want to work our lives away, and if you do, that's another coaching session. Well, we can take that offline. So a lot of times, employers will lump all of that into one. So a vacation and sick, where it was used to be very traditional, now it's all lumped into one. Maybe you will end up lucky in a company that has unlimited paid time off, like I used to offer, but it's a little unlikely. It's not totally embraced yet. This is also things such as holidays. You want to check and see how many holidays that the company celebrates. I will tell you, if you're staying in the Charlotte area, the average is 9. So if it's anything less than 8, ask why. You can also try to negotiate up from the average, which is usually about 2 weeks when you start. Try to get maybe 3 weeks. All they can say is no, correct. And then also that's floating holidays. So a floating holiday means a holiday that's not nationally recognized, and you can take it whenever you want. So if you can negotiate some floating holidays for yourself, that would be great. Any questions about total rewards?
So for a floating holiday,
Yes.
could it be like a religious observance day for me, or like what does that mean?
Yes. So a floating holiday is usually it's very similar to a vacation day. You can utilize it for really anything that you want. So if it's a religious observance that's not observed by the company itself, or you just want to go see Post Malone, with your friends. The point is you do not have to explain. And you don't have to explain if you do have a religious observance, you don't have to explain that to your employer. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I know some of my friends who is already working, they have something called a signing fee. Like if you sign and you get somebody.
A signing bonus,
Yeah,
yes.
signing
We're going to talk about that in future slides. So that's a great question. Max asked about the signing bonus. And since he asked, I think let's talk about it right now. That is something that you can negotiate from the onset. And there's several different types of bonuses. So of course you have your annual bonus, a signing bonus, and that really comes in handy. You'll see that if you have multiple offers on the table. You want to be the one that they think if we don't get them, they're the one that got away. Make yourself really marketable. You can also negotiate some if you feel like you need to, you're not at the salary level that you want or the bonus level you want. Negotiate like time or goal-based bonuses right from the start. For example, say you have a $50,000 offer on the table, you really want $5,000 more. You can say, hey, let's negotiate if I hit X number of goals, in the next 6 months, that you'll give me a $5,000 bonus. Okay. All right, this is my favorite because I have personally felt all of these and believed all of these myths at one point. So I'm here to bust all those myths. Anybody watch Mythbusters? My husband watches it all the time. So we're going to bust some myths here. The first one is you must disclose your salary to a potential employer right from the start. And that's so nerve-wracking, isn't it? And that goes back to your question, Carlina. What if they ask me and it knocks me out? That's why preparation and research is going to come in handy. However, if you can, try to flip the script on them. Has anybody tried to do that in an interview yet? Try to get them to tell you what the range is? How did you do that?
It's been a while. I can't remember how I did it, but I probably just asked.
Okay.
How do you, what's your compensation?
Yeah, no problem.
Something like that.
So he said I just asked what the compensation is.
I remember things like that.
Normally what I'll say is, so can you tell me about what the range is and how you determined what that range is? And usually they'll tell you because no one wants to really waste any time. And then the ball's in your court. You can make a decision if it's going to be something that you want to continue the conversation. However, sometimes the application requires it. And I'll be very honest, it can be a knockout question. So what I mean by that is when you apply somewhere online, it goes into a system called an applicant tracking system. The applicant tracking system will sometimes be designed to read certain answers to the questions that you put on the application. And if they are not the answer that they want, it will disqualify your application. This is full transparency. Unfortunately, companies get hundreds to thousands of resumes sometimes, so they have to whittle it down. That's why it's going to be very important to try to determine what that number could be and if it aligns with what the salary in the market is. to keep your application in the mix. Sometimes you have to put an exact number. However, if you don't have to, put a range. That's what I do. Might be, hey, I'm not, between $55,000 and $60,000. All right, money should be discussed early in the process. That's another myth. But who wants to go through, I don't know how many interviews that sometimes companies will put you poor souls through. Sometimes, 2, sometimes 5, and it's a little bit ridiculous. Do you want to spend all that time? And then they offer you a salary that they really won't budge too much on, and it's just not in your range. So it's going to be important to know what your budget is. Try to reveal that as early as possible in the process. Again, trying to get them to do that right in the first interview would be ideal. All right, I think someone mentioned this when I was talking about the fear of negotiation, and that's the fear that the offer will be pulled. Did anybody say that, or maybe alluded to that? Yeah. Honestly, I've never heard of an offer being pulled because of negotiation. And if an offer is pulled up during the negotiation period, I think that that will tell you a lot about the company itself. If they won't even have a conversation, it's probably not going to be a company that you will want to work for, because that sets you up for the rest of your career there. And now you'll know what your interactions may look like. But negotiations are expected, so companies will leave room in the budget for that. I know I always did as an HR professional, maybe about 5%. I'd leave there just in case. We still have a couple more myths, but I know you're sitting here thinking, I'm a senior in college, I don't have any experience. What kind of bargaining power do I have? You do have a lot of bargaining power. First of all, you're going to be dated as college graduates. That is, that's attractive to an employer. Additionally, I'm sure you've all had experiences, internships, club memberships, projects, group projects that you could leverage your outcomes and experiences for. At least to try to get that salary up as high as possible. So don't ever think that you have to go and you're setting yourself up for the bottom of the range, because that's not true. A couple more myths here. Is that the same position equals the same salary. But there's a lot of factors that can determine salary. Geography is one of them. So a role in Dunwoody, Georgia is not going to be the same as a role in New York City. Is anybody planning on leaving the Charlotte area? A lot of you. And where are you guys going? Chicago, great. Atlanta, that's a great market to be in. Chicago? Anybody going to New York?
No idea yet.
You don't know, but
Charlotte.
Charlotte's not your final destination. Is
Probably
what you're
not.
saying.
Hopefully not.
Okay, I dig it. Charlotte's not my final destination either. Perhaps. So geography, experience, and I would say tenure. Sometimes in some companies, unfortunately, tenure does determine salary. Again, if you're in a company that tenure, that is what they determine salary on, maybe you might want to rethink that company, because you might have more experience and work harder and smarter than the person who has the tenure, and they're getting rewarded for it. So, if the offer's more than you expected, should you negotiate? Absolutely, always negotiate. All they can say is no. And then it's okay to back out of an offer. I'll tell you this, we live in the good old United States of America, so you can really do anything that you want to do. However, the professional world, no matter how big of a city that you're working in, is small. So you always want to try to negotiate in good faith. Now you may get to a negotiation period and it falls apart and it doesn't work out. That's okay. But once you accept an offer it's try to keep that off, try to keep that commitment to the employer at least for a year. Try it. But if not, remember, you can always bounce back. All right. So one thing I forgot to tell you guys, and I apologize, is I put the page numbers of your participant guide on each slide, so you can make sure that you're on the right slide. This is where we're going to get into some activity. So you don't have to listen to my voice for a couple minutes. Sound good? We're going to talk about the effects of salary inequality, and then we're going to calculate what that can look like over time. And white males, I'm not picking on you here. I am just giving some statistics. It is not anybody's fault in the room. However, I would like to drive home that if you become the hiring manager someday, you will have the power to change some of these statistics. So everybody in the room, women, minorities, unfortunately, LGBTQ, they're still suffering from pay inequality. So the two in the middle, 60% of the time, that's how much women are asking for lower salaries than men for positions with similar qualifications. And then you see how it equates on the opposite side of the screen. That's the percentage of time that they're getting less for the same position in the same company. If we go down to the top, to your right, we're getting better. So black males are earning 98 cents to every dollar that a white male does, according to pay scale. However, that does not equate for a black female if you're looking at the lower quadrant right there. It's a significant impact to a black female over time. 877.5 basically is what the average that they're losing over time. So that's a significant impact over the course of a career. But now we're gonna do an exercise. So this is an individual exercise, but if you want, you can pair up. I'm not legalistic like that. So we're gonna do some calculations. So on page 7 of your participant guide, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to calculate the deficit. So here, this is the. See, my voice is starting to come back. Sorry. This is the scenario, and I almost sang you a '90s rap song, but I feel like it might have been. Maybe I'll do it later. Okay. The Templeton Company is filling 4 open accounting coordinator roles. And the newer hires they've chosen have similar qualifications and experience. And the salary range for the role is $62,000 to $74,000. Employee A is a white male, and he negotiates a starting salary of $68,000. Employee B is an Asian female. She negotiates a starting salary of $65,000. Employee C is a Hispanic male. He negotiates a starting salary of $67,500. And then employee D is a black female, and she negotiates a starting salary of $62,000. So, assuming a 5% year-over-year raise, does everybody know what I mean by year-over-year? Okay, all right. Calculate the difference in the annual salary that employee B through C will have from employee A. You can round to the nearest dollar. And then once calculated, we'll review the insights of the effects of that deficit over a 40-year career. So we'll do that on the next slide. So if you want to pull out your calculators, or if you have it on your laptop or your phone, go ahead, pull that out. Feel free to pair up if you want to. You've got 7 minutes because I like odd numbers. Feel free to ask me any questions. Okay. All right, so let's take a look. we'll do the big unveiling. I feel like maybe like some drums, I don't know. It's not really good news, maybe we should do some drums. But you can see what a difference this could make just over a few years. So employee B will be at a deficit of about $36.50 almost. Employee C, $608, and employee D, almost $7,300. Now, in the scheme of things, you might be thinking, okay, not terrible. But let's say that money was invested over time and put into their 401k. So let's look at employee B. So if they took the $36.47 over the course of their 40-year career, and trust me, 40 years, like I'm in 22 years, it goes like that. So start your 401ks early if I can beat that drum. At an annual interest rate of about 10%. If we were just saying simple interest over time of $36.47, that would turn into about $18,250. Compounded interest. Does anybody know what compounded interest is?
So like there's not just interest on the initial thing you put in, but everything you accumulate, there's also interest on that too.
Boom. Yes. So as you're accumulating more interest piles up on that. That can look like $165,000 over the course of a 40-year period. $33,647. That 608 can turn into $27,500. But here's the big money. That $7,300 or so can turn into $330,000 in compounded interest. So it doesn't just have an effect on the money that you're investing. We had a good conversation, Sam and Andrew and I, while we were doing this exercise about how when you negotiate a salary, how that can affect you for your future raises, and even as you're going into the next role with another company. Having in mind that, hey, this is what I'm worth, and maybe I want 10% more, but really you're in the lower end of the range, and you should be looking for 20 to 25% more. But now your psyche is undervaluing yourself, and a company will pick up on that. So if they can get a bargain, remember, be the one that got away. Welcome, I'm Debbie.
Sorry.
Oh no, glad you're here. Did you get a participant guide?
Yes.
Okay, awesome, thank you. So you've heard me talk about the term salary ranges. Anybody want to venture a definition of that? Okay. So salary range is the amount that a certain position is valued at. And there are usually three parts to a range that you'll hear about. One is the minimum, so that's the lowest that the range that the position will be paid. The mid or median salary, and that also can be called comp ratio. And then the maximum, so that'll be the maximum that salary will be paid. So if you hit that maximum in the company, you may not get any significant raises until you move into the next position. You might get some cost of living. Sometimes companies will cheap out on that too, so just bear that in mind. Always try to know what your salary range is. So when I say comp ratio is the mid of the range, and that's what most companies will, if you're talking to a hiring manager or if you're talking to somebody in HR, they might use that term. They're going to usually budget to the mid of that range, so the comp ratio. Okay, so what can you negotiate? And I put really the most common things here. There are always like some outliers, absolutely. But these are the things that you will, most of the time, this is the world you live in. Anybody planning on going into sales? Ooh, that's right, medical device sales. Yes, it's a tough world. I believe that you're gonna be successful at it. The reason I say that is we've talked about base salary. We all know that you could negotiate base salary, but did you know you can negotiate commission? Is anybody familiar with how commission works? Okay. So commission is usually a percentage of the sale that you make. So we'll use medical devices. So for example, say an x-ray machine is sold at $1 million. I'm sure they're more than that, but and the person who made the sale is going to make 2% of that commission. So that's still a significant commission at 2%. However, usually that is that percentage can be negotiated at signing. So you can negotiate the percentage that you'll get for your commission for each sale, or you could negotiate extensions of commissions over time. So if you are successful, within like your first 6 months, say the commission's 2%, and say I would like to have that increased and doubled it to 4%. So the bottom line is you can negotiate commission. We've talked a little bit about bonuses already. The annual bonus, the signing bonus, and those time and goal-based bonus. Does anybody want to review that again? Because I don't want to bore you. And we've talked about professional development. So have in the back of your mind what professional development will look like for you over time. Does that mean industry conferences? Does that mean local professional development seminars? Does that mean certifications? And try to put a number to that. In addition to what the company will already give. A majority of companies, you will see a training and tuition reimbursement policy. Ask about that when you're in the negotiation process. Remote work options are becoming more and more common. And I actually just read an article today. It was about how Charlotte remote work is really skyrocketing faster than the majority of areas around the country. I think one thing that was attributed to is that Charlotte is starting to become really of a tech boom, and that is usually the world where you'll see remote work. But it's nice to be able to work from home every once in a while if you are somebody who needs to be around your tribe. So being around people works for you. Maybe that's not as important. However, what I would find out is what are the flexibility that the company offers. I would also see what kind of remote work do they offer. Try to negotiate as much, and then you have some wiggle room on whether you want to do that or not. Also, with remote work, internet, cell phone, see if you can negotiate those payments towards those two things. Usually that becomes like what they call a reimbursement, and it doesn't add to your taxable wages. And it's like a percentage. So anywhere between 25% to 50% you'll usually see picked up by a company if you're doing remote work. All right, so we had a bunch of people who said that they are not going to stay in Charlotte. They're like, peace, I'm out of here. See you later, Queen City. Relocation is probably going to be something that'll be on your mind in your practice because you're going to be looking for housing, correct? And with housing, what do you have to put down? Deposits, usually first and last months, right? And that could add up to anywhere from a couple thousand to, depending on for those who are going to Chicago and some of the big cities, that could end up being like $4,000 or $5,000. And I'm sure that you probably don't have pocket money for $4,000 or $5,000 right now at this point in your life. So why don't you ask for it? And usually I would say the average, last that I've seen, the average is for relocation is about $3,500. That's an annual. That's a national figure. So you may not get $3,500, but if you can try to at least get a couple thousand to help get you settled. You can also try to, with your relocation, negotiate a house hunting or a home hunting trip, 3 or 4 days to look in the city that you're moving to. We've talked about paid time off, so I won't go into that too much. But equity, you know what I'm talking about with equity. I see a lot of heads. Anybody want to venture and kind of throw it out there? Same.
I think it's a portion of a company that you have as a share.
Yes. So you said basically you're a shareholder of the company. Yes. And this is more common. Thank you. This is going to be more common in privately held companies. So when we get to the point about research and preparation, that's why it'll be important, because a publicly held company, it's sometimes a little bit harder to negotiate the equity, especially from the onset, but with a privately held. And tell you what, startups, you can get yourself into a startup at the beginning and really negotiate that equity, lots of shares. You can probably afford to take a few years off at some point in your career. Anyway, going back to the negotiate in good faith, don't mean to kind of drive it home, but no, I really do need to drive it home. Try to negotiate in good faith. So if you're gonna go through this process, have in mind that, hey, I really would like to work for this company. Okay, who needs like a 7th inning stretch? Okay, dive in. All right, I think this is probably the module that we're going to be doing the most work, and I might have you move around. So I know that you've gotten to be best friends with the person sitting next to you, but we're going to venture out, we're going to meet other people. Cool? Okay. All right, second quote. If you don't know your values, someone else will tell you, and will probably be less than your worth. Again, I've felt this throughout my career as well. So I'm telling you, I am teaching from experience, from both sides of the fence. Okay, so like I said at the beginning, this isn't about interviewing, so we won't spend a ton of time about interviewing. But what's really important for you to know is that the more prepared you are for the interview, the more impressive you are going to be to the hiring manager. And that is going to set you up so much better when it comes to salary negotiation. So again, I will say it. Be the one that they say, if we let this one go, it's the one that got away. So make yourself marketable. All right, so on page 11 through 13, I have some area for notes there. But I'm going to let's see if you guys can do the work here. So when we are researching a company, things that you want to really pay attention to are first, the ownership. So is it privately held? And if it is privately held, who are the owners? Is it a private equity? Is it partnership? Those things are going to be very important. You'll want to do some research on the private equity firm or those owners. You want to make sure that you know the history. And the history isn't just about when it was founded, who founded it. See if you can get as much information. What have been the ups? What have been the downs? Have they had multiple ownership changes? And that happens with private equity. That's nothing to be fearful of. It's usually because they're trying to find their valuation. Mission, vision, values, and guiding principles. So these are going to be very important to you because you want to be with a company that aligns to yours. And if they don't, your passion will fizzle. And your passion will fizzle during, I'll tell you, I've had this happen to me, but my passion would fizzle during an interview because I just didn't align. I just didn't feel it. So it's important to know those things. Where can you find some of these things? Website, yep. Where else?
People who work there and
People who work there, yeah. Just ask. All right. You can also sometimes find history on a LinkedIn page, the company LinkedIn page. Sometimes you'll see that listed out. Different products, clients, services. It's important to at least have a high level knowledge of what the products are. And if you don't have a good understanding, well, then you know what kind of questions to ask during your interview. Asking questions will really impress your interviewers because it will show that you're really interested in the company itself. Again, the one they say got away. Clients, again, you won't always be able to figure out the clients because depending on what kind of company it is, they may keep that private. But sometimes you'll see logos on different websites as well. Financial performance, that's going to be very important to you because that will show you the kind of the steadiness of the company, but it's not always well known. So private companies, so there's a little bit of a change here. So the ownership, the private is a little bit easier to kind of navigate in some areas, but when it comes to financial performance, it's much easier with a public company because they will have that listed on their website. With a privately held company, sometimes you'll have to ask the question and you may not get the answer. Sometimes they'll hold the cards closer to their vest. If you're looking at a startup or a nonprofit, financial performance can really vary. So if you are a risk taker and you can deal with a lot of volatility, then I would say the reward sometimes can be very handsome for you, especially if you're negotiating stock options. Make sure you know the industry and who the competitors are. And then finally, take a look at social media and recent news and headlines. All of those things are going to set you up really well. So if you can talk about something that you saw on the Instagram page, maybe it's something cultural that you enjoyed, or you saw that they just merged with another company, be able to speak about that or ask questions about those things. Again, it will impress your interviewer. It always impresses me as an interviewer. Anybody want to see if they can venture guesses where you can figure out who the competition for a company is? Google it, man. Google it. Find out what the industry, make sure you know the industry, and then Google competitors of, or Google the industry, and then backtrack it. Who's your best friend? Except when there's blind time, right? All right, next page. Make sure you know the players. So have a good understanding of the company leadership. Those will usually be on the website under like an about page. We'll usually have their leadership there. It tends to be the C-levels. Everybody know what a C-level is? Okay. I saw it. Did you raise your hand? Go ahead.
like the C-suite, like people at the top.
Yes, so he said the C-suite, the people at the top. This is your chief executive officer, sometimes your chief operating officer, your chief HR officer, your chief marketing officer, and your chief financial officer. Sometimes there's a couple more, sometimes there's less. Sometimes you'll see C-levels that you've never heard of before. That has happened to me. But make sure you know who they are. Make sure you know their history, how long they've been there, and if you can relate questions back to your interviewers about them, that would be great too. Know your hiring manager. How do you know? How do you find out about your hiring manager?
Usually the website will tell you an email to reach out to, and then they'll email you back with like the person that's taking your role. basically.
So she said sometimes the website will, and I think you're talking about like the careers website.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I don't know,
Whoever like emailed you requesting an interview is probably that person.
could be the person requesting their interview. Sometimes companies have internal recruiters. But usually that recruiter will send you an outline of the people that you will be interviewing with. And the best way to find out who they are is LinkedIn. So if you don't have a profile on LinkedIn, get one. And we'll talk about that towards the end. And then any peers, another thing that you can do with LinkedIn. So what I do is I go to the company website, company page on LinkedIn, and then I just hit the people button, and it'll tell you everybody that's in that role. So you can look for the people in the same role. You might be able to reach out to them. People are very happy to respond to emails most of the time if they're active on LinkedIn. And then any connections that you might have to those people, utilize them. The best way to get a job is through your connections and through your network. In terms of average turnover and average tenure, you're not always going to be able to get that information. It might be a question that you ask during the interview period, but it's important to know, and it's also important to go to Glassdoor. Remember, Glassdoor, sometimes people, they're feeling the extremes, so there are people who are really, really love the company, or really, really dislike the company, but if you can kind of take that with a grain of salt, kind of average that out, it should give you a good idea of what the perception of the company is.
Sorry, what was the website that you mentioned?
LinkedIn or Glassdoor?
Oh,
Glassdoor.
Glassdoor.
Yes.
Okay.
Glassdoor is a site where employees, former and current, can go on and do a review of the company. And it's on a 1 through 5 star scale. They also can review the CEO and put their impression of the CEO. They can put reviews up about their interviews, and they can also post salaries. So sometimes you can find out salaries there. But those things are very important just to find out if it's a company that will jive. Like if you have average tenure and people are moving up the ranks, they have a really good career path, that might be a great place. However, if you have a company that has a ton of turnover, that should give you some red flags. And then finally, make sure you know the position. So what are the general key responsibilities? What are the unstated responsibilities? And I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. So I'm an HR professional. One of my key responsibilities listed out is to partner with leadership, to do succession planning. But one of the unstated responsibilities is that I have to meet once a week with members of a certain core of leadership. I had to review certain standards in terms of the employees. That's an unstated responsibility. So ask that question. Hey, is there anything on this job description that might not be listed, but that would be part of my day-to-day? So you can ask the hiring manager, and you can ask the peers. And then finally, make sure you know those qualifications and requirements back and forth, and ask about the career path. Now, I say all this to say that, yes, we're not talking about interviewing, and we're not going to go into interviewing skills, but if you know all of this information and you study it, and you guys are in study mode, so you guys probably can remember things much better than I can. This will set you up for a really good interview, which will lead to setting you up for a really good negotiation process. All right, group activity. What I want you to do is I want you to find somebody that you have not interacted with in this group and pair up with them in teams of 2 or 3. You might have to move. Like, I know it's like 8 o'clock at night. Kind of stretch those muscles. area if you're not familiar with them. What I want you to do on page 14 is find their mission, vision, and then values and guiding principles. The approximate number of employees that they have, the approximate number of customers that they have, the 2 companies that merged to form Flexential, and the number of states in which Flexential has 1 or more locations. So remember, you can utilize the website for Flexential. You also have LinkedIn. You can find some of this information. And then there's always Google. So you've got 7 minutes. Okay, guys. If you didn't finish, that's okay. All right. Who got accelerating customer success through people and technology for the mission? You guys did. Where did you find it?
I found it on their website under the careers tab.
Okay, excellent. How about the vision? Drive the connected world.
Same.
You guys got it? You got it in the same area?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Did everybody get Peak 10 and BioWest?
Yeah.
As the companies that merged? Okay. Where did you find that? Their website, yep. How about the number of states? Was anybody off, or did you guys get 15?
16.
Did you get Canada there? Did you add Canada
Oh.
by accident?
They probably did.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
How about the number of customers? Did you guys get 4,000?
Where would that be?
So that's on their website. I believe it's under the about, way down. You gotta dig. And then the number of employees is about 1,000.
They have 1,000 to 5,000 on there.
On LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
If you go to the website, you'll see that they have 1,000.
Oh, 1,000, yeah.
Yeah. LinkedIn will always give you a range. And if you can't find it on their website, you can always ask that question during the interview. And then their values and guiding principles, they have a lot. You usually won't see 9 values. I have some insight into this company. They could not make a decision about these, so they just threw them all up there and said that's our values and guiding principles. But if this is important, like I said, because you want to be with a company that can speak to these and speak to how they're demonstrated on a day-to-day, and also does that speak to you? All right, good job, guys. All right, now it's time to dive into really assessing your own skills. So this is kind of the meat and potatoes. We're going to drive it home over the next couple exercises. So the thing that you want to do as you're starting to think about your experience and how it will relate to salary negotiations, you want to begin with the basics. So what are your knowledge, skills, and abilities? Sometimes you'll hear them called KSAs. So knowledge, skills, and abilities. I'll give you an example. I have knowledge of employment law. So, okay, that's kind of a basic, where I might put under like a summary of qualifications, employment law. But in terms of my skills, I have an extensive experience representing the company in EEOC matters, and my ability is that I have never lost a case, so I have the ability to really dive into an EEOC claim and get to the meat and potatoes and win those claims. Maybe you're a music major, so you have creativity might be your knowledge. You have a vast skill in terms of music. Your skill, when you hone it down, your skill might be that you could read music notes, and your abilities you might be able to compose a song. So that helps you. Then you want to add another layer. So what is your previous experience? What outcomes did you have? What achievements have you had? Any awards and accolades volunteer activity, all of these things add up to the sum of your career experience. And then any of the examples of leadership. What I mean here is previous experience, internships. Did you work on any projects during your internships? And if so, what were the outcomes of those projects? Were you a nanny? Did you work at Starbucks? Did you gain customer service experience during that time? How about point of sale? How about sales experience? Did you win any awards? At school, did you win any awards in your job? Did you win any awards in extracurricular activities? All of these are very important. I'll tell you, when I was in college, I was an RA, the president of this thing called Programs Council, and the president of the student government, because I obviously had a lot more energy then. But when I went to go get my first job, and I listed that, those were the things that my employers honed in on the most. So do not discredit those things. Volunteer activity, examples of leadership. I know you guys have a Greek system here. Maybe you're president of your sorority or fraternity. Maybe you're putting together charitable events. All of those things, put it up there. Just don't leave anything out. As you get later in your career, start leaving things out, because then your resume gets to be 3 or 4 pages. But then bring it all together. So try to look at the position and the description and what they're asking for, and try to marry some of those outcomes. So maybe you're going for a sales position, but you don't have medical device sales. But if you worked at TJ Maxx at some point, you have some sales experience, so you can marry those outcomes and try to translate those skills. And then finally, you want to research the salary really well. So the more prepared you are, the better you are for negotiation. Some of the major salary websites, you can do that on salary.com, payscale.com. Payscale tends to be lower, just to let you know. Sometimes you can take some of them and average out together. That's what I do. Glassdoor, Dice, Indeed, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. All of these websites have pay information that you can find. It's okay to post peers in the industry. If we don't start talking about salary, that's how people get underpaid. So ask you, if you have a friend that graduated last year who are in a role similar to what you want, ask them, how much should I be getting paid for this role? Ask people in professional networking groups. Ask your alumni, ask your professors, ask the recruiter who's calling you. And then if you've had internships, that's a great way to get some insight as well. Okay, on the next few pages, this is an individual activity. I have 12 minutes, but I think that might be a little long, and you can always come back to working that. So let's take about 5 minutes at least, start getting started on that. So take an inventory of your knowledge, skills, and ability. Just like I said, put everything that you can possibly think of that could translate into leadership, experience that might be attractive to an employer. Any awards and accolades, volunteerism, club membership. I'll give you an example. Like if I was looking at an HR generalist role, the position responsibilities might be, facilitating onboarding, orientation, compliance with federal, state, local employment laws, performing offboarding activities, exit interviews, human resources information site, maintaining that. Also, a quick tip, usually the first 3 bullets on the position description will be the most important. Mm-hmm. So the more you can relate to those 3 bullets, the better you're going to be on your resume. There's your knowledge, skills, and abilities, your words and experiences. You see like resident advisor, volunteerism, internships, put on there. They made up some awards. I don't know if Davidson College has a leadership award, but if they did, I won it. And then try to marry the accomplishments. So what I would say is just do a couple right now, and then finish it on your own. Warm in here. I know we're getting to the kind of the end here. You're hanging in there. You guys are rock stars. All right, real quick, I wanted to just give you some insight into what some of these what the websites look like. They're very easy to navigate. So again, the most prevalent ones are LinkedIn, Indeed, PayScale, Salary.com, Glassdoor. There's also the, like I said, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Dice.com. But we're going to focus on 3 of them: Salary.com, PayScale, LinkedIn. First one is Salary.com. Like I said, very easy. Once you go on, you'll see, am I an employer? Am I an individual? Of course, you're looking for what your worth is. So you would go to individual, put in the location where you want to end up. Again, that has a big effect on salary. The job title that you're looking for. If you don't if you don't know what that is, and you want to put something similar, they'll be able to come up with some similar roles for you. Then you'll get a listing of all the job descriptions. You want to make sure you get the right one. If you're going for a level 3, you don't want to pick a level 1. That will undersell you. And then it will show you what the outcomes. So the minimum, the median, which is more than likely what you're going to try to get as close to as possible during your negotiations, and then the goal to get to the top of that range. You can also see on Salary.com, if you click on the Benefits tab, it'll give you a little bit more information about the average bonus, what Social Security looks like, 401k, healthcare. Again, this is a national, this is a local average. If you went to PayScale, again, very similar. What am I worth? You could get your pay report. You can put in several different options. Most likely you'll put in either a job offer I'm exploring right now. Put in your job title and location, because location, job industry, all of those things.
The slide or two?
Pardon?
Can you go back a slide?
Yeah, absolutely.
One more.
Yeah, no problem. Did you find what you needed? Yeah. All right. And then I like PayScale. It's a little bit more in depth, but again, they're going to be lower on the pay range, so we want to average it out with other pay sites. You can say I don't have an offer, or I have an offer, I'm getting paid right now hourly or annual.
Just a question about why. Is there like a discrepancy between the sites?
It usually depends on who is who's contributing to those sites. So Salary.com, they're a nationwide provider. PayScale, in order to be a member of PayScale as an employer, you have to pay. And you don't have to pay for Salary.com. So it depends on who is willing to report their salaries. So that's where I've seen, I shouldn't say that's where I've seen, that's where I believe the discrepancy comes from. You'll put some, skills or attributes that you might have. If you know anything about the employer, that would be great. If you don't, it's all right. And then we'll, again, average it out. But you'll see this was less, much less than Salary.com. It's about 20K less. So, and then this is LinkedIn. I thought LinkedIn was the easiest one to use. I haven't particularly used them myself in a while. See my great LinkedIn photo there. But the medium here was very similar to Salary.com. You just put the location on the job title. And then you can get some additional information about sign-on bonuses, annual bonuses. It's nice to have the insights going in. And again, in your situation right now, you're probably going to try to want to get to as close to that median as possible. All right, so quickly, using the Handshake app, pull up a job description of a position that might interest you. And then quickly use one of the tools. I would say probably Salary.com is going to be the easiest. And research the salary range for that role. So make sure you're choosing the right job description. If it prompts you for any skills and education, you'll want to put that you're going to be a upcoming grad, you'll have a bachelor's, and that city is going to make a big difference. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a choice. We're just about 9 o'clock. We started about 5 minutes late. Our last activity will be practicing the negotiation, practicing the ask for your salary. You guys in it?
Yeah.
Or are you guys losing? You're losing steam. If you're losing steam, it's okay. If you're feeling like you're ready, we'll plow through. Okay, awesome. You guys are ready. All right. John F. Kennedy definitely wasn't talking about salary negotiation when he said, "Let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate." I think he might have actually been talking about the food missile crisis, but hey, you know what? Negotiation's negotiation, right? All right, quickly, I want you to write down what you are looking for in terms of your total comp. So, base salary, a bonus percentage. We might be looking for professional development. It should take you only a couple minutes. Other comp could be relocation. You want equity, if that's not important to you, put that there. Paid time off. If you have tickets, write your name on the back of the tickets. I'm going to be coming around in a few minutes and clocking them. Okay. You guys look like you're ready. I'm seeing a lot of people look up. So quickly we'll go through the rules and then we're going to split up into twos. Remember, always negotiate, even if it's a nonprofit and you want to go work for it, because the general rule of engagement is nonprofits, they don't have a lot of money to work with. But even nonprofits have a budget for their salaries. They know that they have to pay the people that work for them, and they will have that money. So the next two really go together. Prepare, prepare, prepare. Again, you will get copies of these slides, so you will have blank sheets if you want to utilize them for your research going forward. And I'll send you anything that you want if you send me an email. Don't bring up personal needs, so don't say that you need a salary because you have a family or you have to buy a car or you really want to go and backpack through Europe over the summer and you need the money. Unfortunately, an employer is not going to respond to that, and they won't respond to it if you ask for a raise down the road. I've had people ask for raises because they were having children. Your lifestyle does not merge with your salary range. Don't appear desperate. If you appear desperate, they will not look at you as the one that got away. They'll be like, oh, this person just really needs this job and we can offer them anything. If true, discuss competing offers. And be open about that because that can get you a higher salary. So go ahead, you have a question.
Maybe you're about to go into that, but how would you say that really formally, not
How would you say you have other offers?
yeah.
I would say, hey, I'm really interested in this role. Right now I'm considering, another offer or another 2 offers. And if this is the role that you want, say, if this is the one that I'd really like, if you could either do X above these, or can we talk about, what you're planning to offer so I can weigh all of my decisions. I'm getting, these offers. I'm getting an offer for $60,000 at one company. I'm getting an offer for $65,000 at another. And it doesn't have to be like, hey, I'm getting these, it's not a demand. It doesn't have to be, it can be a conversation. Always wait 24 hours before responding. Because if you say yes right away, you might, A, prevent yourself from negotiating, You might get a lower salary because you really need to think about that. Like, are you getting everything that you have asked for, or at least you are getting close to what you've asked for? Remember, those feelings of resentment and irritation about your salary will not go away if you undervalue yourself. Try not to renegotiate after acceptance. Negotiate in good faith, but always stay on the market. You know, keep yourself on LinkedIn. There's a little button that your employer doesn't see, but you can say open to being recruited. I can't remember the exact term. But keep that button. All right, so pair up with someone. Pretend your partner is your potential employer, and just in a couple minutes, take turns asking for the salary you desire. So if you are playing the potential employer, ask why they feel like they deserve that money. So share with each other what kind of role you're looking for, maybe the salary you're looking for, and then just practice the ask.
So you follow two
Oh, okay, sorry.
I would just ask
Okay, guys, we'll wrap up.
Sure.
I was overhearing some of your conversations. You all won your salary negotiations. So good job. But actually, I heard some of you guys giving some good tips to each other. So that was really good. That you're all insightful enough to be able to do that for each other. A couple of things before we wrap. If you have your phone and you have the LinkedIn app, you can open it now. I'm going to show you how to connect with people in the room with you.
Oh, that's cool.
Wait, you can do that?
Yes, if you've got the app. I mean, everybody kind of look up if you got it open. If you hit the My Network button, the people, in the bottom corner, that's where it comes up on mine. Hit the people again, the blue, and then you'll see Find Nearby,
That's crazy.
and you can connect with me and each other.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So feel free to send me a connection request.
Oh, wow.
That's one way you can get a hold of me if you have questions. The other way is on your participant guides and the slides that'll be emailed to you. My information is there, my phone number, I'm just a phone call away. My email is there. I'm happy to answer any quick questions that you may have as you're going through the process. This is kind of fun for me. I feel like I've been through the salary negotiation ringer throughout my career, so any way I can help other people answer your questions.
Just, yeah. Internships and stuff like that, like short-term positions, those usually aren't really fodder for negotiation, I imagine.
Are you talking about like a contract position?
Yeah, like some of, I mean, I've accepted an offer for an internship this summer. It's about 3 months. And I just wanted to know if like that's also something that companies are willing to negotiate normally, or if it's just like it's kind of not an anyone specific.
I've negotiated with interns. Usually the wiggle room's a little bit smaller than a normal, but like I'll just use, for example, I would do a lot of tech interns. And my range was 18 to 21 for tech interns per hour. And, you know, I would usually offer the 18, but I've had interns come back and say, you know, can you do 20? Obviously, I'm going to do 20 for them. So I never had a problem with interns or even short-term engagements like contract positions. It's still okay to ask for more. Good question. All right, so, sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. Everybody should have probably some extra names on them. Excellent. I'll come around.
Wait, I don't have any.
know we like went over a little bit. What is this thing showing off right now? Take it. All right. So we've got several items. So I think we said we have 3 t-shirts, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so for our first t-shirt, Max, but he's not here. So he must be present to win. You see?
Yay!
So I know that we'll have to arrange a size for you. For you.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
stop by the career center.
Yeah.
We got you.
All right, second one. So thank you so much, and thank you to Davidson and Career Services in Dalton. I've had a really good time. You've been a really great participatory crowd. Again, just contact me for anything that you might need. Have a great night, guys.